Hello, and a very warm welcome to the Journey Journals. My name is Gaia from Life of Gaia, and I'm very, very excited about today's interview because we're going to take a journey into a very sacred space, and it's that of the womb. And we're going to look at the significance of connecting with the womb and really creating a safe space for women to embrace their sacred feminine energy. And I'm super excited to have with me today Ellanah Fawcett. She's a Yoga Nidra instructor and leads women's circles. A very warm welcome to you, Ellanah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on here, Gaia. It's a real honor to be here today and to share.
Likewise, I'm excited to have you here. So, Ellanah, if we could start off, if you could just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and your journey and what initially drew you to the practice of womb healing circles.
Sure. So my name's Ellanah, and I have been nomadic for nearly 10 years, living and learning in Asia and Costa Rica. And I am a yoga instructor, first and foremost, was how I really got onto this path of self-discovery, of healing. And that was a decade ago. Wow. And at that time, I got diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is where you can have cysts on your ovaries. It has a whole spectrum of symptoms. A lot of women get diagnosed with it, and it really kind of sparked my interest in women's work and what it means to be a woman and what it means to be an embodied woman in this body with a womb, with ovaries. And I didn't realize fully at that time how disconnected I was from that. Very much growing up in London, a busy city. And so my journey into women's work got sparked then, and I was blessed at that point in my journey to have really amazing female mentors in my life. And life just kept guiding me deeper and deeper into this realm of women's work. And a lot of the work I've done has actually been mostly around the voice and singing, holding women's song and voice circles, and then diving deeper into the link between the voice and the womb.
Oh, how beautiful. I love that.
Mm.
Ellanah, what exactly is a woman's womb healing circle for those who have never encountered one or never attended one?
So they can take so many different shapes and forms. It really depends on the facilitator. For me personally, the ones I hold are all based around Yoga Nidra. So I fell in love with Yoga Nidra a decade ago as well, and then discovered it can be really powerful in connecting women deeper with their wombs and deeper with their feminine essence and really unwinding deep patterns that are held there, deep limiting patterns. So the circles that I host, we tend to open with a little bit of breath, maybe some embodiment practices, some journaling techniques to start to open that deeper sense of relating and connection. And then we go on a yoga nidra journey, which some of you might have experienced and some might be new to it. From the outside, you're lying down, being guided through different layers of awareness. And really, it's starting to bring the most gentle awareness, the most gentle, loving awareness to your womb and to your whole pelvis in a womb nidra journey.
Beautiful. You actually answered the question that I was going to ask you, was to understand a little bit more about exactly what Yoga Nidra is. And then I know you also incorporate breathwork and craniosacral therapy into your work. I'd love to hear a little bit about all three.
Yes, sure. So in the craniosacral, I love it. I find that it almost takes you into a similar field as the yoga nidra. So the way it comes in for me with these circles is very much this principle of, I shared with you this quote that I love from Richard Rudd, which is, we don't realize that the more gently we touch something, the deeper it opens to us. And especially when it comes to the womb, the yoni, like women have often kind of really overridden their sensitivities and their impulses there. So there can be a lot of numbness, a lot of kind of tension and pain. And so the craniosacral principles, which is all about in a field of deep listening, your body will naturally start to unwind and release and naturally want to orient to health. And with this yoga nidra practice, we give a lot of space for listening as well. And so we can start to have these unravelings, both at a very somatic level, so deep in the tissues, and also in the more subtle levels, because yoga nidra takes us through the body, then down through the breath and energy body, through the mind, into these more and more subtle layers of the being, all the way down to kind of your deep beliefs and your deep karmas that you've come in with. So that's kind of how the craniosacral fits in, is understanding this sense of deep listening and the power it has. And with the breath, I mean, breath work has so many different avenues in it. For me, I often bring it in with womb work to kind of start to get your energy moving. So starting to kind of move stagnation, kind of get you out of your brain all the way into your body, and also to start to really breathe into your womb, because when we breathe into a space, whatever is being held there starts to really come alive. So feelings can start to come up. So it's a nice way to open sometimes, just to kind of, in a way, ruffle up the riverbed a bit, get things moving.
I love it. And to start the journey into the womb, which I wanted to ask you about next, could you elaborate a little bit on what it means to journey into the womb, and maybe what might someone who's in one of your healing circles, what might they experience from a point of view of transformation or just experience?
So in these particular journeys, with the journey into the womb through Yoga Nidra, and it begins with really feeling, sensing, starting to reawaken this sense of womb. So we kind of go through sensing the body and then bringing awareness to the womb and beginning to notice actually what sensations are here. Do they feel pleasant to me? Do they feel uncomfortable? And then beyond the womb, we actually journey through the yoni as well. So kind of exploring all the parts of the yoni, which is the kind of the whole female reproductive system. So you have your vagina, the vulva, all parts of it. And we actually don't bring very much awareness there as women, and it's like our powerhouse. And women start to experience, through bringing awareness there, this awakening of energy, this awakening of, I guess there's so many things that can come with it. Something for me that really came with it was like this sense of deeper self-worth. That's definitely something I've struggled with and been challenged with in my life. And the more awareness I started to bring there, the more I was like, wow, actually, like, this is powerful. And I'm a powerful being, and so are all of these other women. And it's right here within us. And with that power, we can start to alchemize the things, and we start to take a little more ownership, a little more kind of co-creativeness of who we are. And we can start to shift out the things that we might be storing there.
What a powerful realization to have, and what a powerful way to reconnect with yourself. I know a lot of women struggle to connect with their wombs due to, societal conditioning or past trauma. I mean, for sure, myself included, I'll get in line with those. How do you create a safe space within these circles, that's supportive and that like invites women to embark on this journey of self-discovery?
And that's a really important aspect of it, because there is a lot of trauma that women hold in their wombs and their yonis. Like, it's, if you look back over the centuries, and it's not even just from this life. I mean, as women, a lot of us carry ancestral trauma in our wombs and our yonis. So creating that safe space that maybe a woman has actually never even felt, in order to connect with that sacred space. Maybe she's never felt it with a man, with herself. So that's a key part. And there's different things I bring in. I mean, there's some traditional techniques, like, for example, some people call it havening, or creating a sanctuary. So creating and finding another space in your body, or even a memory that feels safe. That's a place that you can go to during the journey if it starts to feel too much, and really kind of empowering women with that responsibility, that self-responsibility of like, okay, know yourself, know when your nervous system is starting to get a little too activated, and just step back to that safety, breathe into that place, and to just move slowly. So it's all invitational as well. So we'll often start with the womb when it comes to kind of going deep into this pelvic area, and the invitation is actually just to stay there with the womb. If you don't want to go into all the other structures of the pelvis and the female sexual system, like, stay there, breathe there, be with what's there, love what's there. And I always really speak about this gentleness, like, be gentle with yourself. And And I think one of the beautiful things too about Yoga Nidra is it is this soft practice. It's profoundly soft. And with that, what I have noticed is it tends to, when we move into ourselves in that way, things tend to only come up that we're really ready to hold and alchemize, because Yoga Nidra is very much a nervous system balancing practice as well. That's one of its powerful things that it can support us with. So in that way, it can be easier to go in without overwhelming the nervous system, which is a really important part. And so there's a lot of kind of at the beginning of Nidra, I mean, we do a lot of deep settling, like finding the safety and holding of the earth, exploring all around the other parts of the body. So really creating that kind of that holding within oneself first.
Beautiful. I love this thread of gentleness that you have, throughout everything that you've said, and the quote around gentleness that you mentioned. And for sure, you absolutely embody gentleness. I wanted to ask you about what is the importance of gentleness and compassion in the whole process of womb healing, and how do you infuse all these different qualities into your style of facilitation?
I like this question. So the importance of gentleness. I feel like empowering women with the gentleness, with the gentle awareness, is really taking this shift of women kind of taking that empowerment back within their wombs. Like if we think about for women, I mean, there might be lots of women watching this. Like how many times with your womb, with your yoni, did you open her without actually feeling the full yes? And we tend to kind of, as women, we override that sensitivity. And it's also, it doesn't have to be kind of around sexuality. It can also be around your monthly cycle, your moon cycle, your menstruation. Like as women in modern society, it's definitely not built to support us as cyclical beings. So we override all the time this kind of stronger, forceful action of kind of suppressing, pushing in. And the gentleness for me, I feel really brings back this sense of awareness of the sensitivities and empowers women to kind of really feel more finely like where that no is and where that yes is. And as women, we're the receptacle, we're receiving, we receive life. So with that more fine-tuned awareness of that, we can really bring more discernment to our life and be more in our power of yes and no. It's kind of gatekeepers in a way. I mean, you tune into the womb, and the cervix is like the sacred gate between the womb and the outer world. So that's a big part of that.
Interesting. And so on the one hand, there's gentleness, and then on the other hand, there's breath work, which in my experience, the few times that I've done, rebirthing and breath work is a very intense experience and a lot of hard work. Is that how it unfolds in your circles, and how breath work sort of works in that? And how does it contribute to sort of healing the womb space?
So actually the gentleness I bring into the breath work as well. And I love, my brother's also a breathwork facilitator. He trained with biodynamic breathwork, and they're very about this gentle principle. So it's been amazing to work together with him and both of us carry this same value system. And we often share with people coming to circles. We don't do womb circles together, but we do other just breathwork circles. That a lot of breathwork is about kind of pushing towards a big catharsis, and like the catharsis being the pinnacle point of it, like go, go, go. And actually that's not necessarily the most healing thing, especially for the nervous system. Yes, sometimes we need catharsis, but we don't want to force it or push it out. So when we do breathwork together, when I do breathwork for women, I tend to actually come back again to this gentleness and making it more about the subtleties, less about kind of like these strong things. And that oftentimes those stronger emotions that we reach in the catharsis are actually more at the surface, and there's something beneath them that we can miss through going really, really strong. And what's beneath them is more the root. And oftentimes actually after a catharsis, you experience that, you kind of soften, that's gone, and you can drop a little bit deeper. But there's again this profound like awakening of self and safety that can happen through doing it gently we just did one together recently, and this woman had this beautiful feedback where she said she'd never felt safe enough to go into this trauma that was from her childhood. And she'd done breath work many times before. And she said something about this element of gentleness allowed her to finally go there and finally hold herself as this little girl and finally actually start to move through it. Because really, when we tune back, I mean, a lot of it's inner child healing, right? That we are unraveling now as adults, and as children, that's really what we needed, was softness and love to hold us through those, everything really that was coming up. And there's much more on that actually my brother is much better at explaining. He goes deep into the breath and kind of catharsis over more this kind of gentle way of experiencing what's there, the emotions, the somatic tensions and somatic stories.
It's a very intriguing and sounds like a very powerful approach. The combination of the gentleness and applying that to the breath work and applying it to healing. I've actually never heard of it before. It's fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. You touched on it a little bit, one of the women in your circles. Do you have any other examples that you could share with us of transformative experiences that people have had during a womb healing circle?
Yeah, I mean, there's two that's coming to me, and they're both very, very polarized. One
That's
of them is
okay.
actually just like this very joyful experience, which is a friend who she comes to a lot of them, and I do them online, these womb journeys. And she sent me a message afterwards being like, what was that? Like, I lay on my bed for like an hour afterwards and I started having a full body orgasm, like a full body energetic orgasm. She's like, I've never experienced that before. That was incredible. Because that's the release of energy, and that's the potential that lies within us, is to kind of come to more that orgasmic state of being. And yeah, and then there's also women who have these really profound, like deeply healing experiences of trauma. I had an email from a woman recently sharing how, like, the journey she's been on with her womb and with her yoni over the last few years, and the challenges, and there was so much there, and sexual trauma from being like from things in childhood. And she's shared, similar to the other woman, that she finally felt safe to go there, and she finally was starting to feel this sense of love again in terms of her connection with her womb, and that this sense that actually healing all of the things. I mean, she had a lot of kind of medical things going on with her womb and yoni, and she was starting to feel more ease and calm there, and she hadn't felt that for years and years. And this empowered sense too that she could move through them, and that she actually had it within herself to bring healing. She was in the US, and I mean, I grew up in the UK, so we have free healthcare. Like, we have the NHS. It's like everyone has this. And she was explaining to me how, like, it's been challenging too, because she's not had access to the support that she needs in the US, because everything's so expensive, and you have insurance, but it's complicated. And so in those types of situations, like, we have to in some way bring the power back to ourselves and realize, like, okay, like, I also have this power within myself to bring healing, to support my body in realigning with health. And that was kind of one of the takeaways that was coming for her, was that actually there was more within her that she could resource from without needing all of these things that she wasn't able to afford and to find.
Those are two great examples. Thank you so much for sharing them. Do you ever come across any common misconceptions or myths around womb healing that you could share with us, and how do you address them?
One thing that can come up with womb healing and with the womb in general is that it's purely about sexuality. That can be something that people experience and think about, or that has to come through sexuality, when actually that's a tiny part of the whole expanse of the womb. I mean, the womb is expansive in her nature. She expands to gestate a whole universe that gets birthed into the world in a human form. And I read something a while ago that, like, she's almost like a black hole in that way. Like, it's like a whole new life births through her. So there is this expansiveness. And I do feel in this day and age, we haven't tapped in fully to the power of the womb. And I feel like we're kind of relearning this ancient wisdom that's contained within our wombs, because it's this place that, I mean, we experience birth, life, and death through the womb. Like each month, we, in some ways, there's a death. We shed a potential life. We shed skin. Sometimes there's also, we actually do shed death. Like if we had a miscarriage or something like that, there's, our womb is experiencing death, and then it's also experiencing birth of new life, birth of new cycles. So there's profound wisdom in there. And as women, it's like the home of our creativity. It's also the home of our rhythm. And I have one of my favorite yoga teachers. It's a dear friend of mine. He would always say, rhythm is healing. And I feel that for women, there's something in that. We are starting to realign more with that rhythmic cycle. And I feel there's a lot there for us and a lot of potential in that. So there's this expansive wisdom and kind of otherworldly wisdom in a way, that life can come through, be born, and that we all began in a womb. We all gestated there, and it was our universe. It was our whole home. It was all we knew for 9 months, some of us 8, some of us 10 months, but it was all we knew. And it's like a field of love in a way, and it's liquid. So this coming back to this gentleness, this softness. We're held in liquid, which is naturally soft while we grow, while we prepare to enter the world.
It's an absolutely fascinating topic of discussion, and I can almost feel it as you speaking about it. It's beautiful, it's exquisite. For those viewers who are new to the concept of womb healing, right, what guidance or advice or suggestions could you give to them as to how to start exploring this side of their femininity?
Beginning with feeling, sensing. I mean, that's the first step, really, is, am I actually able to feel my womb at the moment? And what do I feel there? And then from there, like that's leads you on a whole journey. I mean, and that's really at the foundation of all womb healing, is what am I feeling? Am I connected? And what do I sense? And how am I sensing too? Am I sensing from a place of loving awareness, of compassion, or am I sensing from judgment? So that's definitely advice I would give. And also to seek out someone to hold that space too, because shared it there's a lot there for women. There's a lot in our wombs, in our yonis, in our pelvises. And it can be so important to actually be held, like not just by yourself, but by someone else, to allow. And that's part of, I feel, the feminine healing too, is allowing oneself to be held. And your intuition will know who that is for you. I really believe that we get guided to whoever is meant to support us. We have different keys for each other during different parts of the journey. So I feel like those are 2 pieces of wisdom I'd share.
Thank you for that. Beautiful. Ellanah, do you have an overarching message for the world around womb healing?
Feel 2 that weave in together. The first is, the message is just to all women to really realize how powerful you are, how much potential you have within you, and how sacred and miraculous your womb is. And the second being to really go there with gentleness, that you can be profoundly gentle, and to explore and be curious with that. What happens when I hold myself with gentleness, with tenderness.
Beautiful. Thank you. Absolutely received. And I want to say thank you to you for being on this interview with me and for sharing all your wisdom and information. And I really want to acknowledge you for your gentleness. It's really quite beautiful. And I want to acknowledge you for being a new mom and for being a trained doula, and really for holding space for deep feminine healing. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Gaia.
Absolutely. So if you as the viewer have enjoyed the interview with myself and Ellanah, please like, comment, share. Also, if you'd like to get in touch with Ellanah, I highly, highly encourage you to do so. As you've seen, she's a wealth of information. She runs women's womb circles, both online and in person, I believe. And we'll be putting links to her website and her workshops in the description below. And I highly, highly encourage you to connect with her and to see what she's up to. So thank you again for watching. And Ellanah, thank you again from the bottom of my heart for being here with me.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really fun and beautiful to share.